Man, I'm fucking blown away sometimes, really. Just to speak on it a little bit. To speak on this, I don't know if community is the right way to put it. I Hate Dogs, IHD, refers to it as crusaders, and I don't really like associating myself with communities of any kind. I don't mind, how do I put it? I don't mind fraternizing with people. Like, I don't mind building relationships, but I don't consider myself really a part of the community, quote unquote. And that goes for guys like, our little, Matt McKinley refers to them as truthers, like, guys like Metaphysical Truth in Games, Kirk, Autumn Luma, Denkeeper. Shout out to Denkeeper. I miss you, buddy. Billy, Stardust Simulation, guys like that. My subscribers. I'm sorry if I'm not naming names, but you know who you are. The people who make comments on my videos. So, I've talked about how maybe I'm in the truther circles, right? I don't mind being referred to as in circles. Like, I would say I'm part of the anti-dog circle, but I wouldn't consider myself part of the community, quote unquote. Just because that tends to open doors for manipulation and abuse. Not to say that the guys in either section would begin abusing others, but I've seen that before. This one particular asshole, I'm not going to name names, I've talked about him before recently, began doing that, kind of abusing people and kind of talking down to them and whatnot. So, to me, considering oneself in a community opens doors for abuse, and that's the reason why I don't really dedicate myself to any one particular group. But it's very eye-opening seeing the community posts and seeing the videos lately from, like, the dog critics. We'll call them the dog culture critics. So we got, I would consider myself a dog culture critic, and I wasn't obviously always like this, but it's been like, how do I put it? This has been, especially like the past week or so, with people like Sheepy and just to give examples, what they're noticing about the reality, what they're realizing about the world around them, in relation to this dog culture. It's like completely anti-child. If anybody's seen my videos where I criticize dog culture, the main theme tends to be anti-child, and the world is very, very anti-child right now. And it's actually a real shame, but that's not necessarily my point. My point is that the dog cult, the worship, the dog worship, and Satan's influence, the not milk influence, which is what Matt McKinley dubbed the adversary, right? The not milk, which isn't their fault in a sense. I'm not going to get into the metaphysics because it's a little esoteric. It's too esoteric to really just talk about right now. But things are being revealed to them about how the world operates. And it's dark, it's sinister, it's beyond the dog cult. Like, this dog cult is just one aspect of deeper issues, of deeper spiritual issues within people. And the dog hoarding and the pit bull owning and the bully breed owning and the maulings and the child maulings and the death is simply a symptom of real deep spiritual issues that can be dissected. Like, it isn't so much a mystery, especially to someone like me. It's not a mystery at all. This is just how people are. The only shocking thing to me so far has been how crazy prevalent it is with the dog cult that I hadn't considered. Like, for instance, when Sheepy was talking about like in the video I talked about recently, where Sheepy brought up the foster children thing, well, the foster child thing, and how when a foster child turns 18, they're basically homeless and thrown out into the street. And to me, that's just that's just one aspect of other issues, obviously. But what I'm saying is I wasn't aware of that. And to me, it's like, if it wasn't for like, if it wasn't for the dog culture or the dog culture critics, there's certain things that I just wouldn't know about, where I'm just like blown away. Like I'm like blown away every time one of these guys makes a community post. It's like, golly, I didn't know that. It's like every community post I'm reading is like, wow, I didn't know that. It's like everyone, wow, I didn't know that. It's like, holy shit, how deep does it go? It's just sickening, man. But to me, like, and this is why I won't really identify with totally being part of a dog culture critic community person, is that because I understand it's really, really deep. It's like, it's not just the dog thing. Like, the dog thing is just one aspect of many aspects. It's like the surface. Like, we're just looking at surface level stuff right now, which is great because that's a starting point. Like, a lot of dudes, a lot of really smart people are noticing this dog culture as well. And this dog cult is like a revelation to them, where it's like, holy shit, the world really works like this. It's like shocking, right? Like putting on the they live glasses. It's like, once the they live glasses are on, they're on your face forever. Like I've said in the past videos, it's just, you can't take it off. Like the dynamics between men and women that I notice, I'll give a quick story about that. But the dynamics between men and women that I can't unsee, it's like that. And a lot of you can't unsee it either. Like when I told y'all, a few of y'all anyway that make comments, Kirk for instance, says that he can't go to the store without noticing, like, to give an example, like seeing it's like seeing a married couple together, and like the vast majority of the time it's always the man following the woman, and the man is almost like the child being dragged along, and the man is following the woman, which is the reverse of God's order, right? This is metaphor, okay? What's going on inside of you is what's happening on outside of you. So, so within, as above, so below, so within, so without. So when you start noticing that, you start realizing that's inside of you, and it's pointed to something else. But once you see it, you can't unsee it because it's everywhere. You gotta, like, guys, new subscribers. I got like maybe 5 or 6 new subscribers. Next time you go to the store, I want you to notice when you're looking at couples, and I don't care if they're gay, lesbian, I don't care if they're straight, I don't care if they're married, I don't care if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, I don't care what age they are, I don't care if they're boomers, I don't care if they're Gen Alphas. I want you to pay attention to the couples next time you're out, and I want you to see who is following who in the situation. And the majority of the time, there's going to be exceptions. The majority of the time, it's going to be the man as the little boy following the woman as his mama. He's married. If they're married, he's married to his mother, in essence, essentially. And that's the way it's playing out right now in the world. And that's why the world is so fucked up. And again, that's just one aspect to the overall metaphysical issue. So, to give a quick example of the things I see, and you can call bullshit if you want on this, I don't mind. But so I'm up front with the new guy. I'm not gonna give his name. So I'm at the firm register with a new guy, kind of talking to him for a minute, telling him how things work and whatnot. And we've had conversations before about spirituality. He seems pretty cool in that way. Nothing too crazy. Nothing on the reality mixing, reality metaphysical aspect. But he made a joke where I started walking away when he was checking somebody out. I started walking away, and I go, oh yeah, I forgot I was going to do this for you, because I meant to go up there to give him something. And he made a joke in front of the lady. He made a joke in front of it was an older lady, it's like a boomer, the customer. He makes a joke where he says something along the lines of, it's okay, I'm used to being forgotten, or something like that. He was just being stupid, right? He's a young guy, he's like a young black dude. I think he's 21. Anyway, he's cool as fuck, I like him a lot. He's got a lot of potential that hopefully doesn't go to waste on some single mom, which I think it is already, but you know how that shit goes. That's besides the point. So, and this lady, as I'm standing there, immediately goes into her problems about how she starts telling this sob story about how her daughter moved away and she doesn't call her anymore, and she started acting all sad about that. And it's so funny because when the guy told me that, when he made that joke, I had a feeling, I don't know what it was, I had this feeling that this lady was gonna somehow get into some bullshit about herself. And I told the guy after she left, I said, look, I had a feeling she was gonna start saying something like that because she just looks the type. This old, washed out female boomer type who more than likely scared away her daughter, pathologized her daughter to the point where she wants nothing to do with her anymore. And he was like kind of shocked that I say something like that about someone I didn't know. And he's like, Rudy, you don't know that. What are you talking about? I was like, dude, I know. I was like, I know everything. I know everything about her just from that one little instance, and I know everything about you from the conversations we've had. And he looked at me like I was like kind of crazy and kind of like not shaking his head in disbelief, but shaking his head like, oh my God, like what is this dude saying? And I said, you want to know why I know that? And he said, why? And I said, I know that because once I started examining myself and realized the problems I had, I realized that everybody's having the same issues. And he was kind of nodding his head like, yeah, I see what you're saying. And I said, we're all like in the same soup. It's just the seasonings are a little different. And that's the only difference between us. And I couldn't really elaborate because he had another customer after that. But after I told him that, and that's just the crazy things I tell people. It's like, I know all about this dude. I know all about that lady. I know for a goddamn fact that she scared away her daughter. She was such a bitch to her daughter. Let me pause this. You know what this is what gets to me about it, is that, and what was our other tip off, okay? Like, this is how I know these things, because this lady immediately begins playing victim about the situation. She got up all in her feelings, and she made it all about herself, right? And people like that, especially mothers like that, are never, ever, ever going to talk about the bullshit they did. They're always going to be the victim in their own mind. They're going to they take everyone around them, they build an army with everyone around them and play victim until they get everybody on their side, and then they turn them loose against the other family member, usually a son or a daughter. It's usually the son, but in this case it's the daughter. And I know all about this woman just from this tiny bit of information. This one little experience with this person told me all of that. And I just know it. I just know these things, okay, guys? Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. And you can think that I'm wrong all you want, though, but there's just so many situations that I can just call ahead of time, and it can get a little scary. Like, but it's just shit like that, guys. It's this dog culture thing is just one of many, many aspects to what's going on in society as a whole. And all of it boils down to the separation from God. And that's why you have these dog worshippers who are attempting to find purpose. This is all it really is. They want purpose. And you'll have a lot of fathers and a lot of mothers, and especially the fathers, and this is the grossest part of all, and where they don't see the purpose in their own children. They don't see their children, and this is the best way I can word it, okay? You shouldn't see your children in this manner as well, but your children, any fathers out there, any mothers out there, your children are an opportunity to break the family curse, the chains, to break the chains, to turn your blood into wine. I've said this before many times, where your children, our children, the world's children, are supposed to be the opportunity to break Cain's curse, to break Eve's curse. Because Cain had anger. Cain had his little anger, and he passed that anger down to future generations. And Cain's anger is really Eve's anger, because if Eve didn't have anger, she would have obeyed her husband, who obeys God. And that's the order. That's the true order. That's what that story in Genesis is about. Adam and Eve is about the order. And the Adam and Eve mythos is an example of what happens when we're out of order. And right now, the world is full of very feminine energy, and not the good kind, all right? Because there's a lot of positives about women, and I don't go over it as much as I should, but there are. Like the stillness. Women are supposed to be receivers of God's light, and so are men, right? But they receive God's light through their husbands, through their fathers. And when a daughter no longer receives her light from her father, is when she starts receiving either light directly from God or receive light from her husband. And it doesn't work any other way. It doesn't come from anywhere else. They think, like, let's talk about the female dog nutters for a second. They think they can fill that void that they have for God, that void that's missing, that their father was supposed to fill. That void, they're attempting to fill it with stuff. They're attempting to fill it with fake love, with this dog nuttery. And that's what's truly going on with these, especially with these women. These women that adopt these very large breeds, and it's these women that get people killed with their large breeds. And this goes for men too, right? A bunch of idiot men adopting these very large breeds, and they can't control them either, and they're full of shit as well. I won't back off on that either. I think the men are full of shit as well. And you guys know, any old subscribers in my audience know that I talk shit about men about as much as I talk shit about women. Both sexes are fucked up right now. And it's all because of separation from God, thanks to the mother and thanks to the father. It's thanks to the mother for pathologizing and being too aggressive, right? Like trying to be a pseudo man, the way the father's supposed to be. And you have the fathers, it's their fault because they weren't strong enough to, let's say, for argument's sake, simplicity's sake, keeping the mother in her place when she gets out of line. And we have, like, the order is completely flipped. Instead of light working through the man, the darkness is coming through the mother. And the man is too weak because the man is still subject to his mother, his own mother. And this is where all this trauma starts, is when the children become subject to their mothers, and from there they have no idea how to operate. And it doesn't matter if the mother was too mean, it doesn't matter if the mother was stressed out all the time, it doesn't matter if the mother was too nice. All of this is evil. If the mother was too nice, that's also a problem. If the mother was stressed out all the time and, shaking all the time with anxiety, that's a problem. If they're too mean, too strict, that's a problem as well. So just to double down, to really stress this point, is that all of y'all, every single person in my audience has gone through this. I don't ever want to hear any bullshit how you're somehow the exception, because there are no exceptions. I'm not going to say never. There, very, very few exceptions where that dynamic doesn't play out, where either the father was too weak, your father was too weak, or your mother was too overbearing. There's really almost no exceptions. There's a very, very few out there. Even in these Christian circles, these Christian nutter circles, who think, like, you'll have a lot of, let's say, Christian men who all they can do is imitate. Like, they can only imitate what a leader is, but they can't really lead because they're not using God's light. They're not using what's innate in all men. Instead, they're copying, like, the outside of what they think a man is. Like, I said it before, and like what our culture tells us, right? Like, let's say, for instance, a John Rambo or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, those are the approved, designated, not milk characters, cartoon characters that tell us what a man is, quote unquote. And those aren't men. Those are fantasy characters. See, I'm just going to go into this for a while, man. It's going to be like a 30-minute video. So we got the designated, and I've talked about all this before. The designated, creep, the creeps, you can call them the shadow entity, the dark reality, as Billy likes to say, the not milk, Matt McKinley likes to say. There's so many words for it, okay? Some people like to think it's the J words, the Star Davids, those guys, the yarmulke wearing types. It's not them, okay? But a lot of people like to have some kind of scapegoat. A lot of people like to point to an adversary. So I'm just saying, whatever adversary you want to think of is fine with me. But I'm just going to say not milk. The not milk approved cartoon characters that they went out into the world, the John Waynes, right, and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, and like I said, the John Rambos, those kind of characters, where the Rocky Balboas, those are the men, right? Like those are the strapping men that ready to punch anyone in the face, and all of that shit. The Dean Martins or whatever the fuck, and those aren't men, dude. Those aren't men that lead their families. You don't lead a family by punching someone in the face. That don't even make any fucking sense. All right, it's not about physical. This shit, this bullshit, all this bullshit, the dog culture, blah blah blah. The not milk, the mother and father thing. This isn't about the physical. This is about spiritual. This is metaphysical. All right. There's entities beyond our senses that are involved. And what's happening inside of you is what's happening on the outside of you. Your life, everything you witness, everything on the screen, as Matt McKinley likes to put it, the screen out in the distance, right? The black mirror, I like to call it the black mirror. The black mirror is a direct reflection of what goes on inside of us. And it projects outward into the reality and manifests itself through all of us, through all of our senses. It's a collaboration. Okay? The reality can't do anything on its own without people like me, without people like you. Real spiritual beings, right? We're real spiritual beings, and that's what this dog culture community is coming to realize. And I could see I could see a glimpse of like an awakening, dude. Like IHD is onto something, okay? As much as I disagree with him about how the way he goes about it with anger, I don't agree with that part. He tackles the problem with anger, and to me, it doesn't work that way. It can't work that way, but it's a glimpse, right? Like he's let's talk about that dude real quick, and this is stuff he's talked about, where he's saying like he stresses himself out over this dog culture stuff, and that's part of it. The part of the problem, he's handling these issues with anger, and you can't handle it with anger. All you do is make yourself sick. You're raising your blood pressure. You're giving yourself ulcers. You're just making yourself sick with all this stuff, dude. And it isn't worth your health. All right. And this is part of the trick as well. Like this anti-dog community, like in a sense, it's almost like a trick from the adversary, because they want us, people like me and you, to get riled up over this, instead of just using it as a metaphor for what's going on within. And this is gonna sound completely foreign to most of y'all, but go and watch my my Black Mirror reality presentation. Like I got a playlist called Cats the Eyes of God, and I have it all laid out there, man. It's not just about cats. I talk about the metaphysics. I talk about reality and the way reality functions, and how it's been revealed to me. And it just happens to be cats that's the catalyst. And for a lot of you anti-dog people, this anti-dog culture, or this dog culture, is the catalyst. And that's the point I'm making, is that this dog cult is revealing things. It's a revelation, okay? And this is the part I wanted to talk about involving IHD. He said that this dog culture thing is like a revelation in a way. I don't know if he can use those exact words, but he's talked about it before, where he feels as if the dog cult is revealing these, almost like these chinks in the armor, right? These kinks in the armor, whatever the phrase is. And that's what it is. That's what the cat reveals to me. And the cat thing is what led me to this anti-dog thing as well. Because like I said, the second video I watched involving IHD was a cat versus dog video. And that's when I started paying attention, because cats are the thing that makes me pay attention. And if it was the cat entity or the eyes of God, you know, I've talked about before, cats are the eyes of God. I'm not saying cats are gods, I'm saying they're the eyes of God. Okay? Big difference. But if cats are the eyes of God, if there's a cat entity out there revealing itself to me, and it might be just me, it's my own cat fractal. And a lot of people have noticed it too. The people in my audience say that they're noticing these things as well. And it may be just a case of, suggestion, right? I get that. I'm open to that as well. But If you go over my playlist, and I suggest anybody who's new, you take a glance at my playlist, Cats the Eyes of God, where I talk about these synchronicities and this manifestation that happened with me involving cats. And it's insane. Like, I sound like a crazy person a lot of times because of this. But what else am I gonna do? You know? Like, this is the stuff I talk about. If you're turned off by this, if you're turned off about these mystical ways I speak, I mean, that's cool, man. Tune into the next video where I might talk about dog culture. You know? But I'm gonna talk about the things I feel the need to talk about. And the majority of my audience is well aware of these fantastical ways I use words. And I've been accused of word salad many times. And that asshole doesn't come to my channel anymore, thank God. I didn't block him. Here's the thing, I don't block people. You'd have to do something like horrible to get me to block you. Because I don't mind being disagreed with. You can question me in things, you can disagree with me, I don't care, that doesn't bother me. Alright? The only thing I don't really tolerate is Bible thumping. Because to me, Bible thumping is fucking just a goddamn waste of time. You either talk to me like a person, or you don't. Don't quote the Bible to me. If you're gonna quote the Bible to me, I want you to quote, this is what I want you to do, okay? If you're gonna quote the Bible to me, I want you to do your Bible quote, and then tell me how it relates to whatever conversation we're having. Don't just quote the Bible and expect me to understand what the hell you mean by that. Because that's stupid. Like, that's what I do when I quote the Bible. I'm going to quote the Bible, and then I'm going to explain my rationale, why I think that's significant to the conversation. And that's the way the Bible should be treated. The Bible isn't the word of God, it's the word of man. But I stressed on many times that the Bible is the living mythology. Your living mythology, the life you're living right now, is already written in the Bible. It's all there. And it's unavoidable. You can't avoid it. Especially the story of Adam and Eve. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. If you're gay, you're living out that Adam and Eve mythology with your partner, or whatever you call your significant other. Because one of you is Adam and one of you is Eve. And I don't mean Adam in the masculine sense. I mean Adam in the wimpy little simp sense, where you bow down to your Eve. And Eve is your God. That's what I'm talking about. That's the mythology I'm talking about. Because that's what the mythology is about. Adam and Eve is not about the creation of man. Adam and Eve is about this dynamic between men and women. And a lot of guys act like Adam right now. A lot of guys act like Adam right now instead of Noah. You know Noah. You know that he was perfect in his time, and even he had his little flaws. Isn't that a shame? But that's humanity, dude. That's the point. The point of Noah. Okay? The point of Noah is that he was perfect in his time, yet he still had a little flaw, right? He was a bit of a wino. He got a little drunk one day and exposed himself to his children on accident. And guess what his children did? 2 of his children covered him up and had respect, and one of his children laughed at him. And guess which one was cursed? That's the point of that story. Is when if you don't have reverence for your father, especially for your father who receives his orders from God, who just made a little mistake, right? He got a little drunk one day. And that's that story, man. I want y'all to be like Noah. I don't want y'all to be like Adam. Adam was pathetic. Adam was a little simp beta boy. You know what, Adam was these little red-pilled boys that run around blaming women for everything. You know, I could imagine Adam, red-pilled podcasts talking about Eve. Talking about how, Eve left him and took half his money. I can imagine that, dude. Yeah, that's what Adam is. He's not a blue-pilled boy, he's a red-pilled boy. He's one of these little black-pilled boys, too, that just complains about how he can't get any coochie. Holy shit, dude. The black-pilled guys and the red-pilled guys, they're the same thing. Any of y'all watch red pill channels, just stop. I mean, no, maybe not, right? Because I watch, just to talk about me, I watch Better Bachelor, and I've explained it before. I don't want to be a better bachelor because I'm not a bachelor, but he brings up interesting topics. It's nice to study, it's nice to study the people that you disagree with, right? And I don't necessarily disagree with Better Bachelor on things. I have here's the thing, we tend to come to the same conclusions only for different reasons. Like with William Donahue, or Carl Jung. Like Carl Jung and I, I know the guy, right? Him and I had a beer together. Carl Jung and I tend to say the same things about how this reality works, and this is before I really became familiar with him, which is amazing. But it's like we come to different conclusions. We come to the same conclusions for different reasons, and it's the weirdest shit. Like, for instance, to give a quick example, because I'm about to end this recording, when Carl Jung got interviewed, he was asked by the interviewer, do you believe in God? And most of y'all seen this, right? But he's like, no, it's not a matter of belief, it's a knowing, like I know. He didn't say I don't believe, I know, and that's me. Like I was amazed when he said that, because I came to that conclusion as well before I knew who Carl Jung was, before I even knew that he said something like that. Because I figured out for myself that it wasn't a belief, because a belief implies that I can be talked out of it. A belief implies unsureness, right? But I just know that God not even exists, because exist isn't the right word. God is a knowing. God's light, my inner light, God's light is a knowing. It's within me, it's within you, it's within all of us, dude. Jesus said it himself, greater works you shall do. Like, what the hell do you think that means? It's just amazing to me that so many of y'all don't see that within yourselves. Like, let's wake up, people. Use this anti-dog thing as a way to wake up. Anyway, y'all have a nice day. Bye-bye.